I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
Have you ever loved your boss until you realize they're the villain? I don't mean the kind that reminds you of unfinished paperwork when you're rushing out to take your sweetheart to dinner.
Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last night.
I don't mean hovering over you either.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
I mean, I get it. Nobody likes those. No, I'm talking about the evil boss who hatches a scheme so unimaginably sinister that the mere thought of it would send shivers down your spine. Most fans argue that Randall was the true antagonist of Monsters Inc., but I disagree. In fact, I think Randall being the frontman was central to the plot. Because we place so much focus on the obviously hostile lizard, we forgot to account for his ambition. There was ambition at play here, but not in the way that we thought, at least not until the curtains dropped. And we saw Waternoose standing behind them with a plan so unbelievably vile that the mere thought of it made our blood run cold. It's Waternoose, a remarkable twist villain, not just with theory, but with 7 repeatable steps that you can use to craft your own devastating twist villain. So let's explore the method behind the monster. First, a quick recap. Monstropolis runs on screams as fuel, but screams are in short supply. As the CEO of a scream-powered energy company, Waternoose loves the guy who can keep the lights on. He throws in friendly competitions and endorses that his employees stay on their toes. Everyone's trying to do their best, but is that really all he's doing?
This company has been in my family for 3 generations. I would do anything to keep it from going under.
We all obviously get the pressure. Henry J. Waternoose III has a tradition to keep. All that just made us respect him all the more. He felt like the quintessential mentor, the guy who cheers you on as you boldly power through. So we watch him scurry about and personally oversee the training program. At that point, we all thought, wow, this guy's committed. We just didn't know how committed he was until he made us gasp in horror. But the brilliance of Waternoose's betrayal is that it doesn't feel like a twist that was slapped on at the end. His foreshadowing is tied into his motives, and it's subtle enough to breeze past you the first time. To be fair, none of us actually thought that Waternoose was a plain old evil dude. Even after the reveal, we simply said, makes sense, and moved on. This is because his foreshadowing was executed to precise perfection. There was a delicate balance at play between the end goal and his villainy. It wasn't as though his reveal didn't hit. This imparted a great deal of depth to his villain. I'll explain his moral complexity in detail, and there is actually a 4-tiered formula that explains how he was delivered to perfection. Tier 1. Waternoose made his introduction as the good guy cheerleader boss.
Well, James, that was an impressive display.
At this point, we could have no possible reason to believe that something diabolical could be at play, which made finding it out later the perfect twist. Here he dropped just one tiny dialogue that hinted at him secretly being a fiend.
Oh, kids these days, they just don't get scared like they used to.
This raised our brows for a second, but then we thought, well, they're monsters, of course they want to make children scream. Sully's reverence of Waternoose, however, quickly shifted our focus elsewhere. That was tier 2 of the grand twist reveal scheme. The writers built our trust by proxy. Because Sullivan trusted Waternoose, we automatically did too. For the 3rd tier, we need to understand his motivations, so I'll explain that first. Waternoose's motives are disturbingly reasonable. I mean, if my family's legacy was on the line, I would push any and all doors to protect it. Just not that door, maybe. Waternoose had 2 options only: innovate or witness internal collapse, so of course he chose the former. He was a very hands-on leader. It's just that, in his efforts to achieve quota, he was ready to torture thousands of kids. Fan theory deep dives on Reddit explain that Waternoose was the only one who invented this machine. Randall only made some tweaks, but let's pause for a second here. What does all this canon scream? I'll tell you, people really love this spicy blob. I mean, we're all still discussing his plots and schemes 24 years after we first learned of them. The guy actually did build a legacy. See, this is called the halo effect, when you spot something admirable in someone, like dedication to work or achieving their goals, you naturally assume that they must be good. This was the third key to foreshadowing Waternoose, the tightrope between good and evil. Because we believed that he was good, we were prepared to understand the character. This made us invested in him, even though he wasn't visually there as much. But does justifying his skewed approach truly make him worthy of redemption? Let's discuss that. Take Lord Shen, for example, the peacock from Kung Fu Panda 2. That guy was ready to blast a country. He just wanted to snag a throne. Waternoose, compared to him, seems almost salvageable. At first glance, he wasn't evil for evil's sake, but when you look deeper, you quickly realize that that's not true. For all intents and purposes, Waternoose didn't really do anything wrong. He was just trying to prevent the shutdown of Monstropolis. It's just that he failed to come up with a plan that didn't involve squeezing the life out of babies. I mean, look at that guy. He's reduced to a husk, and this is why Waternoose is such a great villain. His evil is just as solid as his motive, which made the reveal hit even harder. And the sad bit, he didn't have to do that, but I'll explain what I mean when we get to his downfall. Randall played a huge role in cementing the eventual reveal of Mr. Waternoose, but it's not just because he was the wingman. No, there are two other reasons why Waternoose's twist reveal could have been pulled off without Randall, and I'll tell you both of them now. This will help you recreate the archetype, so take notes. Randall got more screen time than Waternoose. From the very start of the film, Randall comes off as antagonizing, even though he's only being mean to Sully and Mike because of his inmate competitiveness. We just don't like that he's being mean. This distaste prevented us from looking elsewhere for the villain. The lizard was really a red herring. He seemed like the big bad, but lacked the full narrative structure to actually come off as one. This got us to sense that something bigger was at play. The milked assistant reported to Randall. This made us feel as though the lizard had more authority than the big boss. Even so, I did find myself thinking, how did this guy build that big of an illegal contraption inside of a factory with 1,000 employees without letting anyone find out? And that was the first real clue that something else was going on. Incredible foreshadowing though, you really had to look. This makes Waternoose's reveal all the more brilliant. For a while, you suspect that something else is at play, but can't really figure out what. Another tool that the writers used to make the reveal hit harder was to make Boo trust Waternoose. Watching Boo cling to Waternoose right before the mask dropped was basically an emotional anchor. It made the twist feel more like a gut punch. And even after he banished the monsters to Siberia, we didn't fully understand what he was up to. We just thought he was going to hurt the little girl. The writers held the tension up until the very downfall scene. Until he outright declared his plans, we didn't really understand why he was doing all these things. And that shifted everything from curiosity to horror. Waternoose failed at his mission for 3 different reasons. For one, he was outsmarted by Sully and Mike. The duo plotted to record his declaration in a cleverly executed twist, but they couldn't have possibly known that another secret or plot twist was at play. Roz being the undercover CDA leader was even bigger of a shock for us all than Waternoose being evil. Think about it. If she hadn't been planted there, Waternoose would have never been held accountable. Who would Mike and Sully have shown the tape to? The employees? What would they have done about it? There's another thing though, and that is this. Despite all his efforts to overcome the energy crisis in Monstropolis, Waternoose actually failed. His disgrace was written into his very plot.
Leave a door open and a child could walk right into this factory, right into the monster world.
I mean, who told him to order Randall to secretly open a door? Who suggested that he try to kidnap children? Because when that toddler crossed the threshold, everything changed. She showed them that children were not, in fact, poisonous.
George Sanderson, please remain motionless. Prepare for decontamination.
Sorry, friend. And that a monster could grow to love a child. But all this actually also showed that Waternoose never tried to branch out his approach when solving the energy problem. Sure, he pushed his employees to do better, oversaw scare demonstrations himself, and even built a terrifying machine. But what sort of insane scientist refuses to research their subjects? This shows us that Waternoose never deigned to look at children with curiosity. If he had, he would have found out long ago that joy was more powerful than fear. And he wouldn't have been trying to fill up yellow canisters with second-grade, inefficient, hard-to-collect fuel. This failure both makes him the bad guy as well as the dude we pity right now. Despite all that hard work, he didn't succeed. Now I'll explain why all of this lands, and then I'll go on to give you the fourth and final tier that I promised before. Beneath the simple motives, Waternoose is a complex character, but he's not someone we're invested in while we're watching the film. He's the warm boss. That turns out to be the cool pragmatist, and a lot went into his delivery. The twist reveal of Waternoose wasn't executed in a sudden mask drop. Rather, the writers planted visual cues that made us associate him with safety and stability, and then they ripped that up into shreds. For this reason, the betrayal felt personal. Furthermore, shots of Randall sneaking around made us feel like he was the only sly thing in sight. Or, well, not sight. At the same time, there were just enough clues to suggest that something else was going on. We didn't get it on the first watch, but everything clicked in retrospect.
There's nothing more toxic or deadly than a human child.
When you put it this way, the delivery of a twist villain sounds quite tricky, but I've broken it all down for you guys. Let's move on to the writing class, where I'll give you 7 easy steps to etch out a perfect twist villain, all modeled after this hideous spider thing. Waternoose was Pixar's first twist reveal villain, and they built up his impact in several layers. It starts out with 3 core structural components, so let's discuss them first. All twist villains live in a 3-act arc. First act, they wear the good guy's mask. Second act, the mask cracks. Third act, the mask shatters and they fall. There are 4 pillars of the facade which make up the first 3 steps. Keep them off screen. Waternoose appears sparingly at first. By limiting screen time, we never actually scrutinize him as much. This let the suspicion fall elsewhere. Writers know, the less the audience sees of the twist villain early on, the more room you have to control their image. Put them in a position of authority and reinforce it with trust anchors. As CEO, Waternoose is the face of tradition and stability. Add emotional cues like his concern for the factory, Sully's respect, and Boo's trust to build sympathy. Writers know, authority makes betrayal sting more. Show your twist villain mentoring or helping the hero. Drop invisible hints. Waternoose's slight defensiveness about the company's future is one such clue. It's not incriminating, but on rewatch, it's a tell. Writers note, foreshadow with motives, not actions. When you've established all of this, don't rip the mask off in one go. Let the unraveling be deliberate. Plant missing puzzle pieces. The audience notices gaps, like how Randall could operate in the factory without higher up knowledge. You need to trust them with these things. Writers know, give just enough oddities for the audience to feel unsettled, but not enough to accuse the real villain. Ride the suspense. Raise the stakes with half reveals. Don't give away the truth immediately. Let the audience sit in interest for a while. While Mike explained Randall's grand scheme to the boss, we were busy tearing up over Sully and Boo. The spider's reaction wasn't explicit. Payoff with the mask drop. Reveal the villain as the polar opposite of everything we thought we knew. Waternoose, the protector, vows to kidnap children without hesitation. Writers know, when your audience trusts the villain, go big with the betrayal. Make their malice shockingly disproportionate. And lastly, the 7th step, make his downfall triumphant. Waternoose's quick arrest works because it mirrors his own cruelty. He's exiled the same way he exiled others. This brand of poetic justice makes the ending satisfying. It's not lethal, it's worse. And now tier 4, the bonus step. This is act 0, and it's critical to make a twist villain work. Here's the game. Before your twist villain steps on screen, you can prime your viewers' minds to accept them as a part of that world. This is the pre-introduction phase, and it works because it uses the narrative sleight of hand. By the time the villain enters, the audience already knows them through context. In the case of Monsters, Inc., the writers did this by telling us the motto before Waternoose ever showed up.
We scare because we care.
This message set up his twisted ideology, so by the time the first crack in the mirror appeared, we were already prepared to dismiss it. He was Monsters, Inc., and we had no reason to be suspicious. It was his job to make children scream. What else really did we expect? And that was the anatomy of Henry J. Waternoose III. His legacy is brutally clear. We scare because we care about shareholder profits.
Tell that to the board of directors.
Well, at least he never denied that one. Until next time.